just to let you know, the reason why the slides or the screens went up is because they're on a timer, and at 9 o'clock they go up, which means we're running a couple minutes late. So for that reason, if you have to dip out of here, I'll understand. I won't cry too hard. But we are recording it on for YouTube, and you'll hear it on the radio. So if you have to dip out of here, you have to dip out of here. But we are going to boogie real quick with what I am going to talk about this evening. And I am the Dave Ramsey guy here at St. Monica's. I've done the class there for the last 4 years. And I was trying to think of how was I going to start this talk off? How was it going to start? And I was reading last night the Matthew Kelly book that she just mentioned. And Matthew Kelly says, real simply, debt is a destroyer of happiness and a creator of stress. And I read that and I was like, that's as simple a way as you can lay out why debt's terrible. And debt is a mess. So before we get to the things to keep in mind, I want to tell you a little bit about how it is that we got to where we are. We had a little group that we met with on Sundays. This was several years ago. And we talked about different things as far as our families went, as far as we did kind of like a marriage retreat kind of thing, and we did a talking about personality types, things like that. Well, we kind of came to the idea that we needed to talk about money because we're all in that position where, and some of y'all may know this position too, where I get the money and I hand it to this guy, and I get the money, and this is what we're doing with our lives, with our paychecks. And we knew there had to be something more to that. So we started reading Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover. And I'd always heard Dave Ramsey. I heard his program. I never really listened to him. There's a part in that book that blew me away. And as soon as I read it, I was completely on board, like lightning struck my brain. And I'll change the numbers because the numbers have changed a little bit from where it was. The average car payment in America today, the average car payment is about $475. And as you know, we now have 6-year financing and 7-year financing, so you get to pay for this monstrosity, for 7 years now. So, and he had a part in that book where he talked about if you took that $475 and you invested it in a mutual fund that would make 12%, which is what the stock market makes. That's what it's made for the entirety of the stock market. In 20 years, that $475 car payment is $470,000. In 30 years, it's $1.6 million, and in 40 years, it's over $5 million. That's how much the car costs. As soon as I read that, I realized we have to do something because we were in a mess, and we weren't mad about it. And that's the most important thing about debt is if you really want to get into the fighting debt, if you go into it saying, I think it'd be really cool to not have any debt anymore. That'd be awesome. It's not going to work. You have to get mad and you have to just get frustrated where one day you just you want to just throw something because I just got paid again and I have no money again. And you have to get to that point where you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's where we were. We started out with $80,000 in debt when we laid it all out. And I'll call it a debt potpourri because it was a little bit of everything. We had car notes, we had credit cards, we had student loans, we had a second mortgage, and we needed to get to work, and we got to work. We've paid off about $70,000 to this point, have a little bit more to go. Now, you remember, we were at this point a couple of years ago, actually, right around $70,000. A lot's changed for us over the last couple of years. I've changed careers. I had to not just change jobs, but completely careers. So I had to take a step back and pay to go back up and pay. I had surgery to pay for. We had a new beautiful baby back there that we had to pay for the delivery. My wife is now a stay-at-home mom, so we're a one-income family now. So things have changed. But the fact that we came and we took control of our finances and we took control of things is what allowed for us to have that wiggle room. To make those changes, to do those things. So this is the year where we completely pay off debt, and our plan is to be in Nashville before my 40th birthday, which is next year. My goodness. And we're going to do our debt-free scream. If you don't know what that is, Google or YouTube, debt-free scream, Dave Ramsey, and you'll just love it. You'll watch it all day. All right, so making sacrifices, we're moving on. All right, before we get into the 5 steps, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, you're going to give. You're going to give all the way through this program. through the saving money, through the paying off debt, through everything, we're going to give. It's a gift from God, the money that we have, okay? Yes, we do the work, okay? I'm in sales. I make the phone calls. I deal with the clients. I deal with the artwork. I do the work, but it's because of God's gifts that I have the job at all. It's a very reap and sow world that we live in, that he's created for us. He gives us the field. He gives us the plow. He gives us the rain, the sun. We got to get out there and do the work, though. So that's the thing to remember. It's all his money. So we have to help out with that money when we have the opportunity. Keep in mind the debt will not keep you from heaven. Nobody gets kicked out of heaven because they were in debt. However, it helps you to be a better steward of your money, or being a better steward of your money helps your church, it helps your family, taking control of your money. And the other thing is, we're Catholics, we're used to looking in the mirror and saying, it's our fault. It's my fault, it's my fault. And that's the thing that struck me about the Dave Ramsey book, was that it basically said, everybody makes excuses as far as debt goes. The debt was our fault. I mean, we had car payments and we had the student loans and the credit cards, and it's just like, wow, we did that. But the cool thing about that is, if you did that, you control whether you pay it off, and you get to take control of the situation. We're not victims. We're in control. We stand up and we say, let's do it. It's a radical change from what the culture is teaching us. Now, these steps we're going to talk about, they're simple, but they're not easy. So let's do it. Step number 1, stop borrowing money. If you're in debt, which is what we were, and what we still are, we're almost there, we have to stop borrowing money. That's the first step, and it seems so simple, but the debt causes so much issues. I mean, here's some crazy numbers about where we are as Americans right now. In America, we have $750 billion in credit card debt. We have $1.14 trillion in auto loan debt, $1.28 trillion in student loan debt. You add all that up, that's over $3.2 trillion in credit cards, student loans, and auto loans. The country. That averages about $10,000 per person, okay? As a country, we're not very good at this. We need to be better. So we need to do our part, and we need to get serious about getting out of debt. And if we're going to be serious about getting out of debt, we have to stop borrowing money. And we had a really good test last month. Our van, which had been paid off for about 4.5 years, was rear-ended, totaled the van, thank you very much. Everybody was fine, but the van was totaled. And we had a nice check from the insurance company, and a couple of people were like, well, now you could take that and put that down on a nice van. And I hate to say it, the thought went through my mind, like, well, I mean, we could do that. And I was like, no, we can't do that. We got a van that was comparable to what we had, same about miles, same about, or same year or so. And we've got great mechanics here at the church between Mr. David Rodriguez and Mr. Jerry Decatrell, and we have several others. I mean, we're not worried about my cars. It was one of those moments where we kind of looked in the mirror and we said, this is a test. And we passed the test. We said, no, we're going to get an older van, pay it off, the title's in the safe, and we're just going to keep rolling with what we're doing. So there are going to be those tests. But why is it important to get rid of debt? Because our most powerful wealth-building tool is our income. The money that you make from working, that's what you're going to use to take care of your home, save for retirement, take care of your kids' college, take care of the church. Pay for seminarians, pay for the folks in Haiti, all those little things. You can't do that the way that you want to do that if we're giving our money to the bank, okay? Trust me, if you stop giving money to the banks are going to be fine. Their buildings are big enough. They have nice enough furniture. They're going to be fine. So we need to, like I said, take care of our home, and the first step, eliminate debt and not borrowing any money. Step number 2, the budget. You have to have a plan. This is a big one. We make a budget every month. Every month's a little different. There are plenty of ways that you can do this. You can do it on Excel. You can do it on everydollar.com. It's a great website. It's a Dave Ramsey website. It's completely free, everydollar.com. You go there, you can put in a plan to take care of every dollar that you make and where does every dollar go. There's also an app called YNAB. That's not Wine App, which is what I thought it was when I first heard it. I thought that's kind of cool. But no, it's YNAB, Y-N-A-B. You need a budget. And then the other thing is a blank piece of notebook paper works good too. You put at the top of the paper, this is what I bring in, and you write down mortgage, car payment, food, gas bill, down to the bottom. And you put basically a job for every single dollar that comes in the house. I'd like to get a little bit more into it. I'm going to run low on time, but the budget is very, very important. The thing to remember is you're going to mess it up. We mess it up every month. Something happens. You forget to pay somebody. Something happens to the car. You know, crazy stuff happens, and we've been doing it for years. So give yourself a little bit of grace. If you do it 1 month and it doesn't work, don't throw it out. You've never done it before. Of course it doesn't work. You're going to get used to it. It takes a couple of months. Step number 3, get a buddy. And I am so grateful that Paige Berry talked about this earlier. Accountability partner. If you are single, get an accountability partner. I would suggest if you're going to do the Dave Ramsey class, I'm going to teach it again in April. Get an accountability partner that the two of you can work together. If you are married, you have to work together. It's extremely important. I've taught the class 4 times. We've been doing it for 6 years. You can't do it alone. Because I think Rick said something earlier. If you're going in one direction and your wife or your husband is going in the other direction, you're not going to end up you have to be totally focused going in the same direction. And the other thing is, my wife and I see things differently, believe it or not. She's a woman and she sees things differently than me, believe it or not. You know, because I see the big things as far as we need to pay off this. She says if we move this and we get rid of this and this, and it's those 2 sets of eyeballs looking at the budget and working things out. It's so important. And I hate to say it, we're not as good at it as we should be, but it's probably one of the most important things is to have that accountability partner, somebody to work with, somebody to root for you as you go through everything. Step number 4, you need $1,000 in the emergency fund, in your savings. This is the starter emergency fund. Dave Ramsey calls this step number 1. For tonight's purposes, it's step number 4. $1,000. This will handle emergencies. We've got to get away from borrowing money. And how do you get the $1,000? I don't know. Get a job. Sell something. Sell, as Dave Ramsey says, sell so much stuff that your kids think that they're next. Okay, that's what you need to do. But get yourself $1,000, and this is emergency fund. If you come home one night and your wife says, your husband says, I don't feel like cooking tonight, that's not an emergency, okay? Sometimes it's an emergency in my house, but we're not going to use the emergency money for that, okay? Emergency money, accountability partner, you go to your accountability partner and say, this is what I need the money for, should I use it? And you need to work that out as far as, you know, fixing the car, fixing the air conditioner, things like that. $1,000 will cover most emergencies. As we go, you know, further through the plan, you're going to put more money in your emergency fund. But for now, $1,000 gets the ball rolling. And then finally, we're going to get to the debt snowball. The debt snowball, and again, we'll talk more about this in the class, but the thing to remember about the debt snowball is you're going to take all the debts except for your mortgage. You're going to take all the debts and list them from the smallest amount that you owe to the biggest. And that's not monthly payment. That's like, you know, if you have a $1,000 Best Buy bill or a $2,000 Circuit City bill for all you old school folks, or $10,000 student loan and you got a $20,000 second mortgage, you want to line all that up. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to pay the minimums for everything except the one at the top. And the one at the top, you're going to completely and totally blow it away as quickly as humanly possible. That's after you get the $1,000. You're going to knock that one out. Then once that's paid, you're going to roll to the next one, snowball down to the next one, and snowball down. 2 reasons why. Number 1, you want quick momentum. And I know some people out there thinking to themselves, well, wouldn't you want to pay the biggest interest off first? Okay, because it's a math problem. If it was a math problem, we wouldn't be in debt. And that's the thing. I'm a math nerd. I'm like awesome at math, and I was terribly in debt. So it's not a math problem. It's a motivation problem. So we need some quick wins. So you need to get rid of a bill. It's like, oh, I got rid of a bill. Then you get rid of a bill. I got rid of another bill. It's similar to, and this is a New Year's resolution, losing weight. Like that first week you go to the gym, you lose like 4 pounds. Now everybody will say, oh, it's probably water weight, or you ate something different, or you're wearing heavy clothes the one day, whatever. You know what? I lost 4 pounds. I'm going back to the gym. That's what it is. It's that momentum. Okay, so that's one of the reasons. The other one is it's going to create margin in your lives. If you pay off, let's say the first 3 bills are $100, $200, $400. All of a sudden you've got that wiggle room. You're going to use that wiggle room to attack the next debt. But if something pops up, like let's say the heater needs to be fixed for $700, guess who's got $700? You have $700 now that you used to not have. And you used to have to put on a credit card. It's going to create margin in your lives, and that's what's created enough margin for us to make the changes in our life that we've made. So those are the 5 plans. I would say if you're serious about getting rid of debt, again, I'm the Dave Ramsey guy. Please come up to me and ask me any questions you want to ask me ever about the Dave Ramsey stuff. And I'd love to stay up here and talk, all night, but it looks like I'm out of time. So there's a couple more things. But we're going to do the class in April. It's a huge investment in your family. And once you join it, you are in financial peace for life. So you can go back every year if you want for kind of a refresher, if you will. And that's kind of why I teach it, is because I need the refresher. I need to stay on track. So I keep an eye out, keep an ear out for when we do that, when we get into the middle part of April. So the last thing I'm going to say is we overestimate what we can do in a year. I think everybody does yearly resolutions like I'm going to lose 200 pounds this year, and I'm going to run 3 Ironman triathlons this year, and I'm going to build a spaceship. And we're not going to do all that in a year. We overestimate what we can do in a year. But we grossly underestimate what we can do in 5 years or 10 years. Because if you really got down to business, in 5 years you can pay off all of your debt besides the mortgage, and in another 5 to 10 years you could completely pay off your mortgage. And just ask yourself, in 10 or 15 years, could I handle that? Could I be without bills? Okay, that's the thing. Do things today to set you up for 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We want to bring everybody up back just one more time.